Welcome to Better You. This is where we explore inspiring books and simple ideas that have the power to transform our lives. Today, I want to share with you a truly remarkable book by Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory. I can honestly say, this is one of the simplest ideas I've ever come across, yet it carries an incredible power to free the mind. Have you ever found yourself exhausted from constantly trying to change someone? For example, you wish your friends cared more about you, listened to you more. You hope your colleagues would recognize your abilities, appreciate what you do. Or you want a loved one to give up a habit you consider bad, like smoking, staying up late, or living without discipline. And then, what happens? The more you expect, the more disappointed you become. People stay the same. They hardly change at all. And you get tired, even drained. That feeling, does it sound familiar? In fact, it's not just your problem. Most of us have fallen into this psychological trap. We think that if others were willing to change just a little, we would be happier. If they cared more, if they listened more, if they lived the way we wanted, everything would be fine. But in reality, the more we push, the more we expect, the more we drive ourselves into a spiral of anxiety, irritation, and disappointment. And this is exactly when we need a completely different perspective. Author Mel Robbins, you may have heard of her from the hugely popular book The 5-Second Rule, this time brings us a new idea. It sounds so simple that you might laugh at first, but the more you think about it, the deeper it becomes, and it may even change the way you live. That idea is the let them theory. The let them, roughly translated as, let them do what they want. At first, it may sound passive, as if it means, just ignore them. But in reality, hidden behind that seemingly simple phrase is a key that unlocks freedom for the mind. It opens up the freedom we all crave, freedom from controlling others, freedom from endless expectations, and freedom from the burden we place on our own shoulders. In this video, I'll go deeper with you into why does let them hold such a magical power? Why is it that with just a small shift in perspective, you can escape those endless days of exhaustion caused by others? And most importantly, how can you apply this philosophy in your daily life so you can live more lightly, more happily, and truly more free? Are you ready? Let's begin. Before we talk about how let them do what they want can be useful, we need to be honest with ourselves for a moment. Why are we so exhausted from constantly trying to change other people? In fact, the root lies in a very natural human need, the need for control. We always want things to go the way we believe is best. When we love, we want the other person to love us exactly the way we expect. At work, we want colleagues or superiors to recognize our efforts. Within our family, we want loved ones to behave and make choices according to what we believe is right. But life doesn't operate that way. You can plan, you can put in all your effort, but others will still act according to their own personalities, habits, or thoughts. And the moment you try too hard to control, that is also the moment you lose your inner peace. Think back for a moment. Have you ever spent hours turning over in your mind? Why did he say that? Or, why didn't she do what I told her? Just one comment, one action from someone else, can be enough to drag your mood down for an entire day. Some people even suffer from chronic stress simply because they live in a cycle of expectation, followed by disappointment. And Mel Robbins points out a harsh but very true fact: we cannot control other people. The more we try to force them, the more we suffer. The only thing we can truly control is how we respond. This is precisely why we need let them. Because when we allow others to be themselves, to act the way they want, we simultaneously free ourselves. You no longer waste hours analyzing why they did what they did. You no longer carry the burden of expectations only to lock yourself in disappointment. Instead, you direct your energy toward caring for yourself, your work, your passions, and the people who truly want to walk alongside you. In other words, let them is not about giving up, nor does it mean you're indifferent or irresponsible. On the contrary, it's a wise choice, the choice to focus on what you can control, instead of wasting energy on things you will never be able to change. For example, if your friends don't invite you out, instead of feeling sad or blaming them, you can let them and use that time to do something you enjoy. Or connect with other people. If your colleagues don't recognize your effort, let them and let your work results, not their recognition, be the measure of your value. If a loved one still keeps a habit you don't like, let them, because their life is their choice. As for you, you can choose to respond in a way that's more positive and less hurtful to yourself. When you apply this idea, you'll realize something truly liberating. You don't actually need others to change in order for you to be happy. You are the one who decides your own happiness. And that's why, let them, is not just a simple phrase, but truly a key that unlocks mental freedom. If we had to sum up the let them theory in one sentence, it would be this: let others do what they want, and you turn back to taking care of yourself. It sounds simple, but in the book, Mel Robbins analyzes so many angles that by the time you finish reading, it feels like a knot in your mind has finally been untied. And I'll share with you the 3 most essential ideas, so you can clearly picture the power of let them. Core idea 1. Expectations are the root of disappointment. Mel Robbins says something that really hits home. We suffer not because others do wrong, but because they don't act according to our expectations. Think about it. How many times have you been angry? Not because the other person's action was so terrible, but simply because it was different from what you expected. You expected someone to care about you, but they stayed silent. You wanted a loved one to change, but they stuck with their old habit. When you place expectations on others, you hand over control of your emotions to them. And that's exactly why disappointment keeps happening. Let them helps you cut off this cycle. When you let go of expectations, you'll feel a weight lift inside. You'll no longer be dependent on how others behave. Core idea 2. True freedom comes from acceptance. Mel emphasizes that let them is not just an act of letting go, but a state of deep acceptance. You accept that others have the right to be themselves, even if that sometimes displeases you. For example, you may expect your child to become the perfect version you've imagined, but then they choose a different path. If you keep pulling, you'll suffer. But if you let them, if you accept your child as who they are, the relationship becomes much more comfortable. The freedom here is not indifference, but generosity. When we stop forcing, we give both ourselves and others space to breathe. Core idea 3. Your energy is the most precious thing to protect. Mel Robbins affirms, you only have a limited supply of energy each day. If you keep pouring it into controlling others, you'll run out very quickly. Instead, let them allows you to save that energy and focus on what truly matters, your own growth. Rather than spending hours stewing over one comment, you can spend those hours reading, exercising, or building your career. Rather than being consumed by disappointment over how someone treated you, you can pour your attention into healthy relationships where you are genuinely valued. Put simply, the core of the let them theory is this: instead of trying to master others, master yourself. It may sound simple, but once you start applying it, you'll see it changes so many things in your life. For example, one day you notice your friends didn't invite you out. Instead of being upset, try thinking, okay, let them. They have the right to choose who they want to spend time with. As for me, I'll do what I enjoy. Just like that, you've freed yourself from hurt and gained a peaceful evening for yourself. Or when colleagues don't recognize your efforts, instead of being disappointed, you can let them and keep focusing on the quality of your work. The results will speak for themselves, without needing their praise. The most important point is this: let them doesn't change others, it changes you. You become freer, lighter, and truer to yourself. You may be thinking, that all sounds nice, but what about daily life? Is it really that easy to apply? In reality, let them isn't some lofty philosophy. It's a habit you can practice every single day. And Mel Robbins has suggested very specific ways to turn it into a life skill. I'll share 3 practical lessons you can apply immediately after watching this video. Lesson 1. When someone does something that annoys you, try whispering to yourself. Let them. For example, you're stuck in traffic, and someone cuts in front of you. Normally, you'd get irritated, honk your horn, but this time, try thinking. Let them. They're in a hurry. Let them go ahead. Just with that one phrase. Let them. You'll notice you feel less angry, less tense. You no longer let someone else's actions dictate your emotions. At first, it might feel a bit forced, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. It's like a reset button in your mind, bringing you back to peace. Lesson 2. When you're not recognized, don't waste energy demanding it. Let them, and recognize yourself. Mel Robbins shares that many people spend their whole lives waiting for a compliment, a nod of recognition from family or society. But the more they wait, the more disappointed they become. Instead, try acknowledging your own effort. If you've accomplished a tough task today, reward yourself. You don't need applause for your achievements to have value. Remember, let them doesn't mean ignoring your worth. On the contrary, it reminds you to place respect in the right place, within yourself. Lesson 3. When relationships don't go the way you want, try loosening your grip on control. Maybe you want your partner to text you more often, or you want your husband or wife to change some habit. But the more you push, the more suffocating the relationship becomes. Try, let them, give them the space to be themselves. You'll be surprised at how much lighter the atmosphere feels. And who knows, that very sense of ease may inspire them to change on their own. Here, let them isn't neglect, but rather creating space for the relationship to grow naturally. And there's another interesting approach Mel Robbins suggests. Think of let them as a small daily exercise. Whenever you encounter a situation where you want to control, pause for a few seconds, take a breath, and whisper, let them. Over time, you'll notice a shift in your mindset. You'll be less irritated, less disappointed, and have more energy to do the things you truly want. The wonderful thing is, you don't need to change the whole world to be happier. You only need to change the way you respond to the world. And, let them, is the key that unlocks that door. If I had to sum up the biggest impression I got from reading the Let Them theory, it would be its simplicity. Honestly, there are so many self-help books that introduce dozens of formulas, hundreds of steps to remember, and by the time you finish reading, you just feel a bit overwhelmed. But this book is different. It revolves entirely around one single idea: let them. And it's exactly that simplicity that makes it strangely powerful. It feels like a very tiny seed, but once planted in your mind, it can sprout and spread into every corner of your life. In the past, I didn't realize how much energy I was wasting just hoping other people would change. There were times when I waited for someone to reply to my message and didn't see a response. My mind immediately spun through all kinds of scenarios. Are they mad at me? Did I say something wrong? Or do they not value this relationship? And just like that, my mood was ruined for the entire evening, and I couldn't get anything done. There were also times when I tried to present an idea, hoping my colleagues or friends would praise and support me. But when their reaction wasn't what I expected, I felt disappointed, invisible, and not good enough. After reading this book, it feels like I've gained an extra switch in my head. Each time I find myself in that situation, I try to take a deep breath and quietly whisper, let them. And surprisingly, it works instantly. Instead of tormenting myself, I feel lighter. Instead of getting angry, I think, well, it's not worth it anyway. I realized that the heaviest burden I was carrying didn't come from other people's actions, but from the control I was imposing on them. What I love most about this philosophy is that it can be applied immediately, no waiting. No complicated tools required. For example, this morning when I was out on the road, someone cut into my lane right in front of me. Normally, I would have stayed irritated for a long stretch. But this time, I just muttered in my head, "Let them." And within seconds, my mind was free from frustration. Or last night, I invited a friend to grab a coffee, but they declined because they were busy. In the past, I would have felt disappointed, wondering if they were avoiding me. But now it's different. I simply smiled and thought, "Let them." Everyone has their own reasons. That small change alone made me feel freer, so much more at ease. And more importantly, it opened up a truth for me. I don't need to wait for others to behave exactly how I want in order to be happy. True happiness comes from letting go of pointless expectations, giving the heart more space for peace. If you're watching this video, I believe you've also had moments like mine, times when you felt exhausted from trying to control. And maybe, just one phrase, "Let them," might be enough to help you break free from that pressure. Starting today. The let them theory is truly a simple yet profoundly deep reminder. Your happiness does not lie in trying to control someone else, but in how you control yourself. The more you try to change others, the more exhausted you become. The more you cling to things that do not belong to you, the more disappointed you feel. But when you learn to let go, when you allow others to be who they are, something magical happens. You don't actually lose anything at all. On the contrary, you rediscover the peace you've been letting slip away all this time. And I really love one message that Mel Robbins emphasizes, which is also the sentence I want you to remember clearly after this video. When you let go, you don't lose anything, you simply reclaim peace for yourself. That is the greatest gift this book offers. A gift that doesn't need wrapping, doesn't require waiting for someone else to hand it to you, but one you can open for yourself, right now. If you found this video helpful, please hit like to show your support. Share it with your loved ones who might need this gentle reminder. And don't forget to subscribe to Better You. Here, we will continue to explore more great books and concise ideas powerful enough to change the way you look at life. And before you go, I have a small question for you. In what situation will you try to apply "let them" today? Leave your answer in the comments below. I truly want to hear your story, because who knows? Your story might inspire someone else to find their own peace as well.